everybody.
Hello.
Welcome to 5 Minutes of Awesomism with me and Peyton. And we have one of my favorite people on as a guest. I am so excited about this. Okay, so if you know me, which 90% of you do, I live, eat, sleep, and drink Florida State. Like, I'm the person who literally, my kids will tell you, goes to bed when Florida State loses, especially when we lose to Miami or to the Gators. I don't do well with losses. So, but Sammie Smith has been one of my favorite FSU players forever. And he is such an amazing human being. And this is a guy who's such an inspiration, personally to me, for many reasons, but also for other people. So when he said he would come on, I was almost out of my mind excited. So with that, I'm going to let Sammie tell a little bit about himself. And again, thank you, Sammie, for coming on. I can't stop smiling.
Hey, well, thank you so much for inviting me and having me on. When we connected while I was at Ole Miss and started following each other, I was thankful. I love what you all are doing and what you're about and what your organization is about. And it has inspired me, even with what I do with FCA Outdoors. We do ministry around the country. We're in all high schools and on college campuses and some middle schools. We have community huddles. We're in different countries. So FCA is global. And I get the pleasure of serving back in Florida now with FCA Outdoors. So I'm reaching kids through outdoors ministry, fishing, hunting, equestrian. And one of the things that I like about being able to get plugged in with the outdoors is, man, we get to be able to reach kids with all abilities. And that's really important. And I'm happy to say that, we have kids that come that have Asperger's, that have some autism, but they love to fish and they're really good fishermen and fisher girls. And so, I get the opportunity to impact lives across all spectrums. And that's one of the things that I'm thankful that God has gifted me to be able to do, along with, having been a former FSU guy and Miami Dolphin and Denver Broncos. I attended the University of Mississippi. I served there as their chaplain for the football team for 7 years, and I got inspired to go back and finish my degree at Ole Miss. So I'm a University of Mississippi graduate, but I bleed garnet and gold. As you can see, Bobby, I got a plan in the spear one last time at Florida State, and Renegade and Chief Osceola right next to him. But I just, again, support what you all do. God gives us all a platform. Sometimes that platform will take different roads. And if you know my story, mine took some roads that I would have not have wanted to travel. But I'm thankful for the path that he did take me on, because it's helped me become the man that I am today. It's helped me grow. It's helped me grow in character. It's helped me grow in resilience. And, I tell you, one of my favorite passages of scripture is Matthew 4:19. And it says that Jesus called to them and said, "Come and follow me, and I'll teach you how to be fishers of men." And I love being one that's called to be a fisher of men and women. So thank you. Thank you for having me. And I hope that you have questions that maybe I can answer for you.
Yeah, I love this about your Fellowship of Christian Athletes. For those of you who don't know what FCA is, it's Fellowship of Christian Athletes. And I think it's one of the best organizations out there. And I didn't know they had the outdoors. And you do stuff with equestrian. We moved to Ocala. So we're right up the street now where we live from the World Equestrian Center, right up the street. So equestrian is huge here in Ocala. Maybe we could work on something together with that, because I love that they have that. I knew you did the fishing because I'm always sharing that on social media. But how can somebody reach out and get involved with like the outdoors, the FCA outdoors?
Well, our website is floridafcaoutdoors.org. And so we do have a website. There's all kind of ministry going on across the state of Florida. There's staff that are in different regions that put on archery tournaments. They have uh, shoots, where they have skeet shoots and all kind of stuff. I know up in North Florida, um, Kes McCorvey, who's a Seminole, they actually had the pheasants, pheasant shoot and all kind of stuff. So there's so much going on, and of course the fishing is everywhere from here where I live in Lake County. I'm on the Harris chain, so we've got great fishing here, but there's fishing in Okeechobee, over in the Palatka area, the St. John. So there's so many opportunities to get outdoors. Now, one of the areas that I haven't been able to really tap in is what you just mentioned is equestrian. We'd love to be able to connect some kids, and I've looked at trying to do some stuff here locally with equestrian, but there's a big following in Georgia. Got a young lady there that does equestrian in Georgia, and she's hitting it hard, man. She's doing a great job, and we really like to expand in the ministry in the equestrian environment. So certainly, if you can be a help to us with that, it would be welcome.
Oh, 100%. It count us in. We definitely, because I see, I went to a Christian college. I went to Calvin College in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Okay. I went to Christian schools from kindergarten through college. Okay. And so I was raised Dutch Christian Reformed. So I'm a Calvinist through and through. That's why I went to Calvin College. People are like, "Are you Calvinist?" I'm like, "I went to Calvin College." Okay. Yes. Okay. Yes, I'm a Calvinist. But so, and I really believe in programs like Fellowship of Christian Athletes because I think sometimes when you're in high school and college, you tend to lose your way. And I think joining groups like Fellowship of Christian Athletes and stuff, it kind of helps you get more centered. And I love this idea of I did not know that they had this outdoor program. Like, I'm kind of amped up right now about this. Like, this is awesome.
Yeah, well, every a new theme for the year that people spend time praying about, hours, coming up with a theme for the upcoming school year. And I think it was maybe a couple of years ago we had the theme every, and every means through FCA we want to be able to reach every coach, every athlete, and what a greater opportunity having the outdoors. When you think about sports in the FCA model, it's usually geared around the football team, the baseball team, the basketball, the softball team. It's the traditional sports. But what we found is, man, we got a ton of kids that may not pick up a baseball or a bat or pick up a football, but they'll pick up a fishing rod and reel, right? Or they like to go hunting. They'll pick up a bow. They like horse riding. And so being able to reach kids means that we got to go where they are and get involved in the things that they do. And what a windfall it's been to be involved in fishing. There's so many kids in Florida that fish.
I love this so much. You're right because like my oldest son was athletic and he was on athlete. Okay, they were homeschooled, but they were under an umbrella school. They were under Circle Christian in Orlando. And then my daughter was I mean, my daughter also was a bow hunter. One time I took her to a Bass Pro Shop and she was getting her bow realigned and she walked in and she had on FSU sweatpants. This was up in outside DC and a Chicago Bears sweatshirt on with boots on and her bow. And this guy walks over to her and he goes, "Will you marry me?" It was so funny because she's standing there and all her sports stuff with her bow and she just starts laughing and walks away because she was more my bow hunter. But she was athletic. I mean, like she was ridiculous. Like she was so competitive. She's like me. She's very competitive. But then my third child was really into fencing. Like he didn't like the other traditional sports. So that would be a kid that maybe would otherwise get left out, but would fence because like not all the schools have fencing, but he was so good at fencing, right? So I love this. You're right. These other things like fishing and hunting and all of these kind of things, they may not think they can fit into the FCA model, but they do.
They
And
do.
I love this.
They can start huddles on their campus. They can start community FCA huddles. that are involving in those sports. Our core values for the Fellowship of Christian Athletes is integrity, serving, teamwork, and excellence. And whenever we have a fishing tournament, I get to challenge the kids and the captains that are adults usually to model those four core values. Because when you're in a fishing tournament, right, you got to have integrity. All right,
Yes.
that means you got to fish right. If we're fishing with artificial lures, you can't have live bait. You got to follow the rules of the tournament. And then you got to have a team. If it's two kids that are fishing together and they got a captain, they got to work as a team. So there's your integrity, there's your teamwork, and then there's excellence. So you go out and you give your best effort, man, to honor God and to be able to do things the right way. And so, we get to model all the core values in the events that we put on, and we get to serving is one of the others, right? Integrity, serving, teamwork, and excellence. When you're on a boat, right, and you got a teammate and you got a captain, you got to serve one another. If I got a big fish on, right, I need you to get that net and to come and help me make sure I land that fish. So, it's just such a great opportunity to be in the outdoor space with FCA, and I'm loving it.
Oh, I could, the one thing that I really just thought about while I was doing this is somebody like Peyton is not, because Peyton's on the spectrum, and Peyton isn't necessarily, I mean, he loves sports. Like, he lives in my house. Okay. He can't help it because I eat, sleep, and drink sports. But me and my husband are both big sports. My husband played sports in college too, but not like you. But anyway, somebody like Peyton, he likes, like, his whole room is done in fishing. Like, he's big about fishing. He loves fishing.
Yeah.
Okay. And so somebody like him, a lot of these autistics go to college, like some of them want to go to college, but they don't always feel like they fit in because they look at life differently a lot of times, or they deal with things differently. But they can now become a part of these outdoor things too, these other sports where they can get connection. And I think this is so awesome because think about it. This puts them in with a team, like
Yeah,
we're Team Awesomism, a team where the other kids in it are going to treat them with respect and learn to understand autism, all while they're making friends and they're getting into other activities. Because just to throw your kids into something, they can be bullied, they can be ridiculed, they can be, so many negative things. I love this. I like, I'm so shocked. How did I not know this? Because usually I research all of this. I think this is really great for autism too. I
yeah,
think for the kids, and so many of autistic adults do the horse therapy, right? Which it can involve the equine therapy, the equestrian, all of that. And I see so much up here at the World Equestrian Center. We've gone to several events there, and they are really catering to equine therapy.
yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I think that's a good way to maybe meet some of these. I've got a guy too that I want to introduce you to off when we're off of here. I think would be great for him.
Yes, it would be.
We've got a friend who is a really good guy. Like, he's on YouTube and he has almost 300 million views on YouTube, and he's on Hulu, and he's on Yippee TV, the Christian channel, right? He's got a show on there, and his name is Cowboy Jack, and he started during COVID because he was so frustrated with what he was seeing on TV. So he started this kind of just for his own kids, and it's grown so huge. He's got a worldwide following, and he might be somebody really cool to like connect with too, because I think what you're doing with this outdoors, my mind is just racing for the autism world, for
Yeah.
this outdoors.
Well, when you see that we have a tournament, please reach out because we want to have all kids with all abilities to come be a part of those. And there's a lot of times that, I can find sponsors that will pay, the fees, for the
Mhm.
tournament to bless kids to be able to come in and to be a part of it and fish. So if you've got connections with folks that got boats that'll bring two kids to fish, please come and be a part of it. And you talk about college, kids are getting scholarships now for fishing, for bass fishing in college.
That's
Every year,
awesome.
every year in January, here on the Harris chain over in Leesburg, the colleges come here and they'll have 250 to 300 boats that are entered into that tournament every January. And I'll go over and I'll give Bibles away to the college students. And so it's a big, big deal, in high school and in college now for bass fishing. And so there's always an avenue for kids to get plugged in if they don't play football or basketball or any of those traditional sports. But if they love to fish, there's definitely a platform for them to get involved and to be able to be accepted into the roles that they are and into the sport that they love to play.
I love that. My mind is going. I've got 100 ideas now. I've got to kind of. I have ADHD, so my mind will go. Whoa, 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 whoa. But I want to kind of congregate because I do know so many people that I think I can connect with you. And Peyton and I will definitely start asking around here in Ocala because I think this is wow. I think this is definitely something that we can put together and move forward because I did not know all of this. And now that I know, I want to make this even better for autistics because, the thing that bothers me the most in America right now is we are leaving our autistic adults behind. Very few people know all these statistics, but they have a 75 to 85% unemployment rate. Okay. They could probably get employed more in the fishing industry because they have the kind of mindset. They are 25% more likely to commit suicide.
Mm-hmm.
And they are 14 to 19% of the homeless population. And they're nowhere near 14 to 19% of our population, right? And that's just the ones that we know that are on the spectrum. A lot of them are classified under mental illness. So the more programs like this that they can get involved in, we're cutting out all that other stuff because a lot of the suicide is because they're lonely. They feel left out. They don't feel like anyone cares. And I think by showing these kind of programs, they go, I love to fish. I can get involved in something. Now I'm not lonely because I'm going to a fishing tournament. I'm not just sitting in my house. This
Yeah.
is beautiful. I love this. You know Kim Boyce, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I've known Kim for probably 14 years now, 14, 15 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Kim and I are good friends too. We're
Yeah.
friends. In fact, we had a We Love Sammie Smith. Remember that when me and Kim sat for like 5 or 10 minutes talking about how much we love you? And she is the best. And, she just started a new program at Northland of women in sports type thing at Northland Church. So, Kim, I need to say to Kim, how did I not know this too? This
Yeah.
program, because I think we can do, honestly, I think you and I can do a lot of stuff together. I can help you with things. You can help me with things. I think we can really get more autistics involved in your program because I think this is a big deal. So many autistics that I have run into love to fish.
Yes.
They
Yes.
can be a part around other people, but they don't have to be interacting
Yeah.
with other people.
And I tell you, FCA has done a great job of building the platform, which we call All Abilities. And
Mhm.
that platform is to say that we want kids of all abilities to come and participate, whether it's with an FCA basketball team, which you have those. We have FCA, pick up what we call them. Man, I'm kind of veering off now, but it's not like the high school level. It's almost like AAU, similar to something like
Oh,
that.
okay. Uh-huh.
But it's just FCA related, and we want kids to come with all abilities. So in other words, that's saying that you could have a kid that may be a great player, and you can have a kid that may be on the spectrum, right, but loves the sports, we want those kids to be involved. We want them to come and be a part of those teams and stuff. So I would say definitely start looking into the FCA model under sport, and you can probably find something that will be available where any kid can find somewhere to be a part of it.
I love that because, when Peyton was younger, he played on an inclusive bowling team, and there were like 5 or 6 autistics on it, and then about 10 that weren't. And the 10 that weren't learned to understand autism better. The autistics felt like they fit in, and so they were in it. And it was the funniest thing because Peyton and his 2 teammates were both on the spectrum, and they won the whole league. It
Yeah,
was hilarious.
yeah,
But all these other kids that were going to high school, because they were high school age, all these other kids that were in high school started saying, wow, I didn't realize you were this cool. Like they didn't see that until they started being on bowling teams. And that's why I love this, what you're talking about, all abilities,
yeah,
because you can bring a kid out there, like, who's a really good basketball player, joins it. A kid that's on the spectrum that maybe just really has a passion for it, they learn to connect with each other. That kid goes back to school and treats the autistics in his high school differently because he's now got a friend on that league, and they learn it. We saw when we lived in Texas, the church we went to, we had a phenomenal program for the older ones on the spectrum. Well, it was actually all of them, Down syndrome, everything. And they would have their dance and their prom every year, right? Kind of like Tim Tebow does, right? But they did it at the church. And they would go get high school kids and they would train them, and they were kind of with them as their partners because some of them, get real stressed and they'd have to walk in the hall or whatever. And so they would come in there and they would match them. And the kid that Peyton was matched with was going to FSU. Remember, because they knew we were such big. Here we are in Texas, right? All the other ones are going to A&M, and Peyton's like FSU, FSU, right? Yeah. So the one kid going to FSU was Peyton's partner. It was hilarious. And so they would bring these kids in, and they literally would go back to school and like hang with these autistic kids that were in high school at school. And these were the athletes. Some of them were the athletes. All of a sudden, these kids were cool in school.
yes, and that's the neat thing about FCA, and it's club. That's the word I was looking for, but FCA club and leagues. Um, and the positive about that is too is you're going to have a coach or a set of coaches that are believers and that will hold kids accountable. And so when you get that network there of a coach that's a believer, volunteers that are believers, and then you got kids that are on those teams that are believers, it's easy for them all to come together and to be more inclusive and to accept one another and to help each other grow and, like you say, and learn more about the other people. So I would tell you definitely look into the FCA club and sports leagues, and the outdoors and any fields within FCA. There's always a place there for kids, like I say, with any ability.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sammie. And we thank you so much for coming on today. And we really look forward to working with you on more things. So thank you.
Thank you
No,
so much,
thank
Sammie Smith.